All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for attending our esports student panel. We are talking to our Collegiate Esports Conference champions today. I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Vania, and she will give us an introduction.
Hello, my name is Vania McBean, and I'm the founder of Terps Esports. On our campus around 2017 or a bit even before, there's a very active gaming club called UMCP Gaming, or sometimes referred to now as Gaming at UMCP. They had such a following that eventually there became a student demand for an official esports program at our school. That's where Terps Esports was born. We have an official competitive teams here representing the University of Maryland on a national stage. We also have outreach, and as you see here, academic partnerships with the iSchool. One of the exciting developments we're working on is to have a Terps Esports Center on or near campus, a nice place where the community can come together, socialize, as well as participate in competitive esports. Please follow us on Terps Esports on your social media and join our Discord if possible. I'd now like to turn it over to our Director of Esports, Mr. Sergio Brack.
Hi, everybody. Like Vania said, my name is Sergio, and I'm the Director of Esports here at UMD. Just some, really quickly want to give people information on how you can get involved, because I know we might have a varying, aspects of people that are on campus that may want to maybe watching this and knowing how can they get involved, how can they contribute to what it is that we do. So like Vania said, we have three different aspects to what we do within our program. We have our competitive piece, of course, with some of these students that you'll hear from today that compete on some of our teams and are doing great work and championship work on our teams over the past year, especially. We also have our community piece where we try and get as involved with the campus community as we can, including academic endeavors like Vania mentioned, but also just including general campus gamers who just want a home and a safe space to enjoy the craft that they partake in. And then lastly, we have our outreach portion. We have a very adamant mission within our program to make sure that we're not siloing ourselves within the UMD ecosystem. We want to help better the esports community around PG County and the surrounding areas as much as we possibly can. And so if you're a student, the best way to get involved is through our Discord server. That can be found on our website as well. If you want to get involved with the teams, we have tryouts that are typically in July and August at the start of the year to kick us off. So make sure to stay tuned to that. We also have staffing. So we have a variety of roles within our program, and that rec role application is open right now, and we typically hire for the fall semester. If you're faculty and staff, we would love to work with you in the same capacity as we have been with some other faculty and staff on campus, including the School of Journalism and the iSchool, like you'll see today. And then also looking for ways to boost whatever it is that you're doing on campus. We have a broadcast team here. And so we typically like to air different things for people, especially for those within our university ecosystem and our colleagues. So if you have something that you want to share on campus, we would love to be able to help you blast that as much as we possibly can. So feel free to reach out to us if you want to showcase some of that stuff. And then lastly, if you're somebody that is not ingrained into the UMD ecosystem, we also want to collaborate with you as much as we possibly can. Like I said before, a lot of the leadership within RecWell and within the esports program is very adamant about getting involved within our community as much as we possibly can. So please, if you have opportunities for that, please reach out to us as well. So without further ado, we are going to hear from some of our amazing students today, and I'll pass it over to Erica, our moderator.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica. I'm a senior here at Maryland, and I'm also the community manager for Terps Esports. And today I'm going to be moderating our panel where we have 4 of our NECC champions here, and I'm going to just allow them to introduce themselves with their name, their year in school, their major, and what team they're on. So we're going to start with the premier team. So Corey, would you mind starting?
Sure. Hello. Hi, my name is Corey Bast. I am a sophomore and I'm double majoring in marketing and operations management and business analytics. And I'm on the Valorant Premier team.
Yeah, my name's Justin Yu. I'm on the Valve Premier team as well, and I'm an information science major.
My name is Saima. I'm on the Terps Lilac Valorant team, and I'm a junior in college with studying with chemistry.
My name is Sumin Kim, and I'm a sophomore. I'm double majoring in criminology and criminal justice and psychology, and I'm currently playing on one of the Val GC teams, UMD Lilac.
Okay, before we go on to our next question, for anyone who hasn't heard of a GC team, it's called Game Changers, which is a new thing in the Valorant scene where it's a team for only women and non-binary people to kind of pave out a way for them to enter the gaming industry. So that's really excited to have UMD Lilac and Lotus here at Maryland. And Saima and Suman are both on Lilac. And yeah, so obviously you hear they all have pretty different backgrounds, different majors. So I'm just going to go back down the line and ask what brought you to esports, why you joined, and yeah, we're going to start with Saima.
So I started playing video games in the pandemic because there wasn't much to do. And I guess, the pandemic lasted a really long time. So I was just video gaming. And I guess after that, I decided to keep going since my skills were getting better. It was something that I actually enjoyed. So I'm here still playing games.
I think for me, I started gaming in pretty late, around high school, like junior year. One of my friends back in Korea, because I'm an international student, one of my friends back in Korea, one of my closest friends, brought me into the gaming scene. And at the time, I have never even heard of what an FPS was, which was very interesting. And I just got hooked in. Valorant was my first FPS game, and I was just so intrigued, so much fun, and just wanted to continue it in some way in college, which is why I was so grateful to have the opportunity to join UMD Lilac.
For me, I grew up playing video games. It was kind of the way that I bonded with my brothers. And then as I got older, I started playing after school all the time with my friends, and we were a pretty like competitive group of friends. So about the time that Fortnite came out, I would say is what really sparked my esports career. So I started doing like wagers, in-game tournaments, and like third-party tournaments. And that's also the time that I started joining like amateur esports teams and just kind of getting into the industry. And then I kind of also like in addition to competing, I focused on building an online presence as well.
Yeah, I'd have to relate with Corey there. I mean, I spent most of my time as a kid playing video games growing up. Outside of that, found myself to be pretty good at it throughout like high school and stuff. I like boosted people's accounts on different games and stuff. And then Valorant came around, played that for a while. I was having a decent amount of fun, doing pretty well. And then came college time, I heard around UMD Esports, wanted to see what I could get done here.
All right, thanks, guys. So my next question kind of going to be a little less pertaining to your personal journey with gaming, but more so how you came to this program in particular. I know the GC team actually has a bit of a different path than the Premier team, so I would like to hear from I guess I'll just start with like Corey or Justin, whoever wants to jump in first. What was your path coming into the esports program here at Maryland? And then we'll go on to Simon Suman.
Yeah, sure. So I would say Valorant came out right around the time that I was going into college. I think it came out like a year before. And I remember I didn't I heard about the esports program through UMCP Gaming Discord. I remember I DM'd Sergio one day and I was like, hey, how does the esports team work there? And then I kind of got like the connection in through that way. And I learned more about the program and what it does. And then I eventually like even like I compete in esports in Terps Esports, but I also work for Terps Esports at the same time. So I feel like I have a lot of knowledge about the program just in general, not only in competing.
Yeah, I was a spring admitted student, so I didn't do my freshman connection. So I came here during the spring semester. I, inquired about the Val team, wanted to see what's happening, but it was all filled up by the time. So I just gave them my profile information and stuff. And then I don't remember I think it might have been my glorious coach NJB. He might have messaged me out the blue and telling me about opening on the academy team. So I just joined then, and it was from there is history, you know.
For the GC team, I we for me, I've been trying to make a women's and non-binary team since like freshman year, but it never really worked out until this year. Everyone who tried out, who got in, like was very, very committed, so that was really awesome. And then once we were set for a few months, I think since I worked for Terps Esports, everyone in Terps Esports was kind of aware of the program I had made. And so they offered to take us up under their wing, which is really awesome and has provided like really good opportunities for us. So that's kind of the history of our team.
Yeah, I don't have that much insight into how GC teams were first created because I was actually part of a small, just like friend group under UMCP Gaming for like a previous team. We would just have fun, casual five-mans kind of thing happening. And then I got the message on one of our Discord channels about people finding GC, like potential GC team members. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. They didn't have them the previous year. So I got intrigued. I tried. And to be completely honest, I thought I wouldn't make it. I would tell all my friends, oh, like I definitely didn't make it, but like it would be so much fun just to try. And then I got the message that I made it. I'm just like, wait a minute. And the rest of it's history.
Awesome. So we're gonna go straight to kind of the topic of this panel, which is that all four of you are NECC champs. So if we could all reflect back to the moments that, you know, your respective teams won, do you have a favorite moment, a favorite play, a moment where you really knew the game, like you guys had the game in the bag, or even alternatively, a moment where you really like struggled and maybe doubted and overcame? Kind of what was the highlights of your grand finals? We can start with Suman, and then we can go down the line.
Yeah, I think the moment where it was actually it feels really funny saying this, but like the moment where I started like feeling really confident in our championship like grand finals was actually during the map bans because the it happened to be the map bans, the three maps that were chosen for that day were three maps that we were extremely, extremely confident in that we just knew we had down. Lotus, Haven, I believe, were like top two maps as well. Just like during those map bans, when we were done with it, I just was like so excited talking to my team. I was like, oh, we totally got this. Like the map bans are totally for us. This is like completely on our side. And that was like I think, the start. I think that was a really good start to the grand finals.
Yeah, I agree. I do honestly, I can't remember much about the game because it was like I remember it was a really easy like 3-0 game. It was a best out of five. But sorry. One of my favorite parts about that whole experience was one, we got to play in the studio, which was still very new for us, and it was like awesome being all together for that and like winning together and like being in person for that win. And then I do remember Sergio just pulled up right after our win and gave us all flowers, and it was like it was just the sweetest moment ever. So
I would say my favorite moment for me is definitely the last map that we played. I believe it was we were on Sunset, I'm pretty sure, and it went into like triple overtime. It was just a really like stressful and like nerve-wracking game, but I really enjoyed playing it, and we pulled through it in the end. So
Yeah, I'd have to talk about that last map too, because that was definitely one of the moments that was pretty scary, considering that that would have been me and Corey's second time showing up in finals and then losing it just right at the end in overtime. So, you know, we managed to actually finish it out that time. So it was exciting.
Awesome. So obviously, you guys have all accomplished some pretty big feats, just as you were just mentioning. Like that was your guys' second time getting to the finals, and you managed to, you know, accomplish what you came to do. So can you guys tell us about how you got to this level of just being good at games, and kind of what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome in your own personal development journey as a gamer to really like excel to that next level? And we can start with Justin.
I'd say it's different for everybody. I mean, I started out playing games at an early age. I mean, you know, I'll try to be humble here. I started out pretty decent. And then coming to Valorant, I mean, I found that this game was pretty similar to the ones I played in the past, like Counter-Strike and all that. It's been a while though since I played the like tactical shooters like that, so it definitely took me a little time. But after grinding and then hitting Radiant, I kind of realized that, I can take this to the collegiate team and then probably get something done. And I wasn't wrong.
I would say, like Justin said, I was also like really big on competing and just playing video games throughout my whole life. But the one challenge that I probably would have is kind of just like maintaining the motivation to keep playing the game. Because sometimes, Riot, like for Valorant, Riot would throw out an update, and if I don't like the map pool, it's kind of unmotivating to play. But just like knowing when you should take a break is a really good like solution to actually keeping that motivation.
Yeah, I think for me and many other women, like considering I started in the pandemic, um, like right off the bat, I was getting like the most toxic comments and like people as soon as they found out I was a woman playing. So I guess just like sticking with the game and not letting those comments get to me. That was a big challenge.
I think for me, the biggest challenge as like someone who just started gaming itself really, really late was understanding, just getting into the field of esports and like in the beginning, because I started from like the bottom of Valorant. I mean, taking into consideration that I literally did not know what an FPS was when I first started Valorant, it makes sense. But I literally started from Iron, which is literally the lowest tier in Valorant. So the biggest challenge would definitely be just was actually getting into the game in the first place. And then, but how I overcame that and, got to where I am today was basically just constantly trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, constantly trying to figure out what I could do better, and then just training, I guess, like in a way where I know it would improve my game style. Like for example, for the longest time I had such a difficulty just aiming because I did not know what that was when I first started, and how to solve that was basically just push myself onto the Guardian, just continuously push myself onto the Guardian. It was my worst gun. I hated using it all the time, but I was like, no, I still need to do this, and it helped evidently.
So I want to go back to a point that Simon brought up, which I think is a very valid concern that a lot of women have in the gaming space is wanting to game, but just getting all sorts of comments, all sorts of interesting interactions. So I kind of want to go and Suman and Saima, if you guys have any kind of comments or notes about how you were able to let those comments kind of ricochet off of you, or how you went about dealing with them, and how did you like kind of build up that thick skin that you're still able to kind of play in even public lobbies now, which I think is brave.
Well, for me, this might sound toxic, but sometimes I would just like yap at them back and I would be like mean because I don't know, it just makes me like, I don't know, more confident in myself. I don't know. When I just like stay quiet, I feel like I'm just taking it, which I don't like. So I kind of just like be toxic back, which is so bad, I know. But other days I'm like, I don't let it get to me. And um yeah, I mean, it's kind of inevitable that you're gonna get those comments and those kind of people every now and then. But especially if you're like playing on a team, like you have your people to back you up. So like having support from your friends and just like being confident in yourself no matter what and like not getting people's words to you is a good thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Saima. Like for me as an individual, I usually go for just avoiding. I would just turn off their mics, turn off their texts. As soon as they say something toxic, I just turn off both, completely ignore. But when it isn't arrowed, like those comments aren't arrowed towards me, then I would actually voice out. Like I would try to talk about it, like tell them like, no, that's like, what are you talking about? Like that's like just wrong. That's just like, I don't know. That's just biased of you. But when I'm trying to deal as an individual, I usually just avoid, just turn off, because I realize that a lot of the times arguments don't really end up in a good place. So I just think, oh, I'm just going to be here a maximum 1 hour with this guy. Like, I'd rather just not talk to them instead of try to fix their own issues. It's not going to happen.
Thanks for that. My next question back to the broader panel. What specific advice or kind of mentality shift did you have that changed your approach to gaming? Like maybe you were hitting sort of a wall in your personal development, or like Corey said, just really like losing motivation. Did you have any sort of inspiration? Maybe you heard from your glorious coach or one of your teammates that helped, or maybe someone completely unrelated that you still carry with you to this day? And we'll just start with Corey.
So this is kind of more of like a mentality thing. When I was a casual player, I think it's really easy to get frustrated at the game and kind of just make up an excuse. Like you blame your teammate for dying or something like that. And I think once I started like seriously competing more, my goal has always been to like focus on improving. So now every single time that I lose a fight or I die in a game, I try to think like, what could I have done better in that situation that would have let me win the fight or win the game overall?
Yeah, Corey's definitely right here. I feel like there's a trend in Valorant, just blame all your teammates and stuff. And a lot of it's valid, I'm gonna be honest, because it's a very team-oriented game. One person messes up, it can just ruin the entire game. But you got to realize that it's a video game. It's all random matchmaking. The only constant is, you on your team. So all you can really do is just personally like develop as a player to increase your chance of winning. And there are just some games where there's nothing that can be done. You just got to take the loss, take it on your chin, and then just make yourself a better player.
Yeah, I think overall, just the mentality that you have to have is that although it is a team game, in the end of the day, there's also individual improvements you can make because you're also not perfect. As much as other teammates may or may not have contributed like 90% to the failure that you had, you can't really change a lot of that. So it's really important to focus on the changes that you can make as an individual so that you can improve.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
my bad.
No, go ahead.
I remember someone told me to just like be consistent and to watch like streamers, which actually really, really helped. Because like when you watch a streamer and they're like super good, like Radiant Immortal, you start to like copy their movements and it just like makes you just do a lot better.
All right. So a common theme, I think, from all of your answers is very much kind of personal accountability, improving yourself, shaking off of a loss, and just kind of personal development. So I am curious if any of you feel like in your gaming journey, especially since you've been on a UMD team, has working on your game sense and your skills kind of improved you as a person? Like, did it help you? I know for myself, even though I'm nowhere near at the level of you guys, I kind of had to be more humble about like how much I can achieve within a game. So I think that kind of also translated to my everyday life. Do you guys feel like you have anything like that? And whoever wants can jump in. This is a bit more of a niche question.
Actually, I have to say that ironically, I'm the complete opposite. Like I have a very, very low like self-confidence in my Val skills. Like my teammates can vouch for me. I bet Simon can vouch for me too. I I always talk about like how I don't think I'm doing enough, and it's gives me motivation to do better and to practice. But at the same time, I feel like a good amount of confidence is also important in your plays. Like I feel like I struggle a lot with like having that confidence, just being like not afraid, I guess, being just understanding at what level I am at currently and just being able to take advantage of that skill level.
Yeah, I would say for me, in the game, I feel like I have a pretty good mentality. I don't really get frustrated too much, and I'm pretty calm. And I feel like that kind of translate into my actual personality, like in real life. I'm kind of hard to upset, so I think there's definitely like a relation there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Corey. There's definitely a relation. I'm sure a lot of people on the Valorant team know how I play. They've met me a lot in real life, so I'd say it's definitely there's a very heavy correlation between how your digital persona and your actual persona are. feel a lot of people present themselves online in similar ways that they do in person.
Yeah, I feel like for Valorant, I'm actually very, very chill. Like I don't rage or anything, and I feel like that definitely translates to like who I am in real life. I'm very, very calm. So yeah.
So this actually, Corey is just like somehow hitting every question I'm about to ask next, because I actually want to ask you all, how do you bounce back after a bad game, after, maybe losing at a level that you really just didn't want to, whatever. How do you bounce back? What do you do? Do you have any sort of like special things you like to do? What do you guys do when that happens? And we'll start with Justin.
I mean, losing, there's always a loser for every game. So, you kind of just got to take it on the chin. For me personally, I mean, there's like that tiny period of time after a loss where, everybody's got to sulk for a bit. But outside of that, you kind of just got to reanalyze, see why you lost, and then, make changes accordingly. There's not much to do other than just try to do everything you can to prevent that loss from happening again, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with him. I know for the Valorant Premier team, if we would lose like a big tournament, the first thing we do is just like VOD review or watch back the game that we just played and see, it's back to that mentality, like what could you have done differently to win the game? And then honestly, just hop like straight back into the game if that's like aim training or going over plays or something like that. Just like getting right back in is a good way to just keep going.
I think for our team, oh, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to
No, you
talk.
go.
I think for our team, we first have to have like, I think a lot of times we like to have like a period of just like calming down, chilling, just like accepting the loss and really like taking that in because it's, it's not really good if you step into, go into like, oh, what went wrong, what went like bad in a mindset where you're just so like frustrated and like in it as an individual. But I think everyone else, like everyone on the team spends this like chill down time in their own way. As me as an individual, I like to actually just start looking into the VODs because I always record all my videos. I just look back at my POV, see what went wrong, because it helps for me to understand exactly if I understand what went wrong, it helps me actually calm down because it makes me feel, oh, this went wrong, that went wrong. These were issues that I had, but these weren't issues that I had. Like I understand what went wrong that was not on my part, and I'm just like, oh, okay. At least I know that I didn't absolutely just mess up everything in the whole game.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. I will vouch for Carrots every time, even after a win, like Carrots will just be in VC, like going over VODs. Um, yeah, she's really great at that. And like making new comps too, because like sometimes there are like different agents that are better than the others, but then we also have to keep in mind of like who's comfortable and everything. So I know Carrots has put in a lot of time of figuring out what comps we should play when people aren't here, people are here, stuff like that.
My next question, actually just being a college student and trying to juggle practices, scrims, playing in different leagues, whatever it may be. Do you have any advice for kind of juggling that for anyone who is interested in joining an esports team, how you kind of balance that with being a student? And we'll start with Corey.
Yeah, I would say for me, I'm a very like um organized person in terms of like creating a schedule. What I personally do is if I know that I have like an exam coming up in a week, then I'll start studying early, especially if I know that I have a match like that same week. So just making sure that you kind of stay on top of all your schoolwork is really important. And that way you always can have time to practice or to play the games and it won't be too stressful.
Yeah, I mean, our Valorant management team, I don't know, they do a really good job of, getting the schedule out for the week. So I get to just bang out all my work all at once, get it all done, say Wednesday if I have a match Friday. Uh, Managing my time isn't too difficult. I mean, it's just like making sure that I have my assignments and anything important I need to get done out of the way before matches.
Yeah, I feel like having scheduled practices and like you can just kind of schedule your practices and like when you're going to study for school around that. Like we have practice on Wednesday. Okay, that means before that time and after that time is when I could do schoolwork. So definitely having those like scheduled times helps.
I think for me, I like to do my work in like bursts of energy, which basically means I get work done. It takes a long time for me to get work done, but like when I do start, it takes a really short amount of time. So what I do is I try to utilize those bursts of energy, get as much work done as I possibly can during that given set time of period. And then at the end of the day, I go check our schedule once again because everything's laid out. I'm just like, oh, we have this and this and this week. I should probably do this and this for practice before practice. So like this could be like VOD reviews, looking into like our different like comps, blah blah blah. I'll just try to utilize that extra time that I spend just not doing work in general to just focus it on esports instead of, laying in my bed.
So another kind of common theme between all of your answers was how a big reason why you can juggle everything with esports while being a student in these various majors has to do a lot with your management team and your support staff. And I was wondering if you guys have any kind of literally just compliments for whether it's your support staff or another teammate, and to kind of elaborate on what makes a good just person in the gaming space, whether it's a teammate who's always has your back after a loss or a manager who's always on point with sending out schedules. Who's someone that's really supported you in the UMD esports scene, and how did they do so? And we can start with Suman.
I think it would be practically impossible to choose like only one because there are two very important people on our team. I bet that Simon's also going to say this as well. Two very important people on our team that help us, which is one, our coach, Ayush, or also known as Dusty, which constantly helps us like get practices through, figure out what we've done wrong, and just overall just there as in not only as like someone who's like analytically supporting us, but like as a supporter in general for our gameplay, making sure that like we always like are not only focused but also feel that we are being supported throughout our journey, that our difficulties are not being like we're not alone in our difficulties. And the other person I must mention is our manager, Rachel, who is constantly just like working for us, trying to get us like opportunities to show our talents a bit more and making sure that we always understand our schedules, know what we have to do, and just making sure just being that organization aspect of our team, which we really need.
Yeah, I also agree with both of those answers, but since they're already said, I'll add on to the list. So I want to shout out Vania because she makes all of like these she makes like first of all, look at our jerseys thanks to her, and like all of our content is hosted through her, and I think just like having that presence, that social media presence makes us feel better about ourselves. And then the second person I would like to mention is Carrots, who is our IGL, who's in this call, who just answered, because I think just being an IGL is really, really hard, but she pulls it together every time and is like confident with her decisions. And we all have a lot of trust in her. And I think without her, we would be very lost. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of important people on our team that, that I have a special connection with. I mean, right over there, we got Mr. Corey, right? Coming from the academy team, right? Came out, got our NECC wins. That's pretty important to me because that kind of establishes, winning culture, winning mentality. We've been there before. We want to get there again. I feel like without that, we wouldn't have that same kind of like mindset we have now. Also Greg, I mean, he's not on the panel right now, but he was also on the academy team, very big part. And Ayush, he's on that team. He's the reason why we won that finals, and he's no longer a player, but I mean, as you can see, he's helping out with all the other programs and he's still a really important part of the program today.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's hard to like pinpoint specific people because I feel like Terps Esports is really successful because of everyone who's involved in it. Like we have so many like different like management and pro staff players or pro staff who just really like help push the program to where it is now today. And then also in terms of like the premier team, I think something that's really important is communication. And like our coach does a really good job majority of the time at like giving out the schedule and setting us up with like reschedules and everything like that. And I think something that's important is that our teammates are pretty helpful. Like if you wanted to go over a VOD with them or like rewatch a game that you played and ask for like tips on what you could have done, they definitely would help you.
Beautiful. Okay, so guess my last question, my last two questions. What advice do you have for any gamers who maybe are just like freshmen, or maybe they're going off to college soon and they want to kind of join the collegiate competitive scene? What advice would you give to them? And whoever wants can kind of jump into this as we're wrapping up with the Q&A.
I think my advice would be if you have even like curiosity about it, or like you feel like you could be interested in it, it might be intimidating to join something that already has like a set team, or like, just teams in general. But I don't think you should be intimidated. I think you should give it a try no matter what. And just try it and see if you like it.
I definitely agree with Sima's suggestion here, because like I said before, when I first joined the GC team for tryouts, my mindset was completely, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I get to play with other female non-binary students playing Valorant. This will be so much fun. Tryouts did not feel like tryouts to me. I did not do tryouts to try out for the team. I did tryouts to have a fun time and actually just do like a scrim for funsies. So definitely you can have that mentality when like going into it. Although the dedication you should put in if you do get into it should definitely be there. But if your worries are jumping in that like first start, just trying out, I would definitely just say just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, I definitely agree with. I mean, if you have any interest in playing competitively, I mean, we have academy teams as well, and also regular teams. So there's really no point in not trying out. I mean, if you're a good player, I'm sure you can get into academy. If you're a great player, I mean, you'll get on the team, and we could turn you into a winner. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's really just about like if you have interest or not. Because I mean, hey, you got interest, we can take the rest over. We can make you into a better player. Don't worry.
I feel like I've answered this question so many times just like throughout my streaming career, but I have so many different answers to this question. I would say if you are first like getting into gaming and you don't know whether or not you want to like take it more serious and go into esports, um, I feel like you don't need to spend a ton of money on your setup. It's not something that's really important. I would definitely recommend surrounding yourself with a group of people that want to improve in the game that you're playing as well, and who kind of just takes it more serious. And then also, you need to remember that the only person who can get you to where you want to be is yourself. So make sure you're putting in the hours and actually practicing and working on everything that you need to succeed. And then my last tip would be that I would say about 40% of improving in a game is comes from just like watching it, watching different streamers and pro players and teams and figuring out like why they did what they did in certain situations. So I would just recommend on top of playing, just make sure you're actually watching the game as well.
Awesome. So the last question from me is, if you care to share, what is in your future, gaming related or not, that you're excited for that's coming up for you? And whoever wants can jump in.
I mean, I can start this off. I mean, my future, hopefully, you know, graduate from here, get my nice little info side job. I mean, gaming wise, while I'm here, I mean, I'm a sophomore. We already got what, two NECC titles. It's time to establish the Terps dynasty, you know what I'm saying? Uh, I'll get that done alongside, everybody else on the team. We'll get that done for sure. I think this is just the beginning of a great thing. But I mean, I just see myself just hanging out my time on the premier team, collect a couple of titles, establish the future of Terps esport, quote unquote.
Yeah, I know tonight we have a game, so we're gonna try and win that. And I think if some of the team is free over the summer, it'd be kind of fun to like get to some more tournaments because it would be nice just to practice a little bit over the summer. But future, I don't know. I think we'll see what happens. I do want to better the program of GC teams at UMD, so.
Yeah, I don't really have a far-fetched future idea in my gaming career because I think for the most part, like definitely the game we have tonight is something technically in the future that we have to look out for. And I just enjoying the moment at the moment. I feel like I just am embracing the fact that I already have this opportunity and I'm trying to make the best out of it. As for like my future career, I would be so happy to have like more opportunities to participate in like future like tournaments. And as for the summer, I mean, I wish I could, but I have to go back to my home country over the summer. Cannot be playing on 150 ping. So, except for that, I'd be so happy to be able to participate in any other future tourneys when I'm still in America. Like all opportunities, just any opportunity I can take, I would accept because that's how much fun I'm having at the moment.
I would say for me, we all just went to the BEC LAN in Ohio, which was super fun. And it definitely made me realize that I want to do more like program bonding, not just team bonding, because I feel like everyone in Terps Esports is really cool and it'd be nice to like learn more about each person. So having more events like that would be cool. And then in terms of like my career, I think it'd be really good. It'd be really cool if I could go into like an esports marketing job after I graduate.
Just to add on to that, I can talk about that Big Ten land. All right, that's a good one. Purdue's in the future, and I will single-handedly take them out. I'm not letting that happen again. We will win that in the future, guaranteed.
All right. So that's all the questions I have. So I'm gonna do a couple from the Q&A. So the first question is, how do you keep your spirits up after losing a map and avoid feeling pressure going into the next map? Whoever wants to jump in can just answer these.
I can pick this one up too, I guess. How do we feel about keeping spirits up after losing a map and avoiding feeling pressure? I mean, I feel like that's a really hard thing to do. It's all about situation, it's all about mentality that we have there. Depending on like, who picked what map, it's kind of hard to keep, a clear mental, knowing that like, for instance, if we picked a map and we lost it, it's kind of hard to confidently go into the next one. But really, it's just like you got to tell yourself mentally to reset. Great things can happen. You just got to put yourself in the position to do it. I mean, you just gotta pray that it works out all on the end. There's not much to it.
I would agree with that answer, but I also think it's important to remember that like even if the map pick isn't the one that you want it to be, you still have practiced the map, hopefully. And you remember that all the practice you have done, you can still succeed. And but honestly, in Valorant, every match is almost a coin flip. It really depends like how your players are playing that day, if your aim is on or not. So there's a lot of factors that go into winning. It's not just something that's like set. It's not something that's determined based on the map. So you always have a chance at winning.
Yeah, Corey's definitely right there. It's based on your level of training. You either rise to the occasion or you sink down to the level of your training. It's all about the moment.
Yeah, I definitely think like I try to look at the positive aspects as much as possible. Like, if you are able to, I think the one thing that I try to do the most is rationalize mistakes. Because a lot of things, like a lot of what happens when you lose a game is like, oh, like we did so bad, like overall. But you have a difficult time realizing the issues may not have been, you know, caused by how you had played. Maybe it could have been circumstantial, just could have been unlucky. There are other circumstances that would have that might have exemplified the issues that were in hand. So I feel like a lot of what I try to do is like rationalize the loss, be like, oh no, we actually didn't do that bad. Like maybe like this and this could have been like an issue, but like no, we definitely can like fix this. We definitely can like on the next game, we just keep in mind that we should change this, like do this. We can definitely take in this next game is changing basically a loss to a positive.
Yeah, I feel like for me, anytime we go up a new map, um, when the first one didn't go that well, especially if it wasn't our pick, I feel like I've always been really good at just like, just thinking about the future and it being okay and like good. I'm always in like a positive mindset no matter what. Whether that be a new half or a new map, I just feel like it's a chance to do good and like start over. And I just think of it as like a fresh new like, game. So it's good.
All right, so our next question is, what was your first major victory and loss in your esports career, and what were their effects on how you prepare for a match or treat esports as a whole? You can pick win or loss, whatever comes to mind first. Whoever wants to jump in.
I can go with my first win because I don't really remember my first loss too much. We just throw that out the window. But so for my first win, it was probably in the early stages of my esports career. So it was when I was playing Fortnite. It was like a third party tournament that was hosted by like this random Twitter team account. But I remember it was like a box fight tournament, and it was really fun to play in because at the time my ego was really high. So I was really confident that I was going to win it. Um, and it kind of just makes me realize that if you want to win something, you have to practice for it. Because I practiced a ton for that tournament. I would always just like 1v1 my friend the whole time. So going into like future tournaments, I'm always going to make sure that I have all our plays like down and memorized or whatever we're doing so that I can succeed.
Yeah.
I th- yeah, you can go.
So for my first loss, I'd say is when I was on the academy team with Mr. Corey here. We got to the finals as well, NECC. We just couldn't bring it home right at the end. 2-3 overtime loss. That was very crushing. Very close as well. I mean, from that, just never want to have that feeling again. So outside of that, it's just more prep time, more practicing, all that right before finals and stuff. I mean, and that's just something you don't forget. And then I'd say for our biggest win probably is, I mean, the one that I'm on a panel for right now, the NECC win, right?
Yeah, I think for me, my first loss after I started like doing any like, tournaments, competitions in esports after I came to college. So my first loss would definitely be during my freshman year with my first team. I just remember going into NACE, which is a different tournament, and getting absolutely crushed in the games, like just not being able to win a single game. And I feel like it actually was motivation to me because at the time it didn't feel like in comp games when I lose, my mindset used to be, oh, maybe it's like an aim diff, like I'm just getting aim diffed. But for that tournament, for some reason, I thought, wait, I feel like the biggest difference is just coordination. Like the enemy team is just so extremely coordinated, and I just could not do anything in the actual tournament. So I think that first loss kind of like I guess like opened my eyes into a whole new realm of competitive esports, and it helped me realize that certain issues, like certain like things, you just need to it all comes down to practice and teamwork and working for that.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was last semester, we also did not do great in NACE, but besides that, I remember we were doing really, really well in NECC. I think we were like undefeated, and then we went into the Aurora series and lost, and it felt really sad, but also promising because it felt like we could definitely, like after a little bit more practice and also like Suman said, coordination, I thought like we would be set. And I mean, shout out to the team because they got third place for a cash prize yesterday, in Aurora series. So we definitely improved.
All right, and our last question, we're just gonna kind of want to answer this one a little bit quickly so we can give our hosts a chance to wrap up. And I actually really like this question. Have you ever found yourself feeling forced to use a meta because your favorite or preferred option is not as good as it used to be? I.e., have you ever been forced to just not be able to play your main? If anyone has anything that comes to mind.
Okay. I'm just gonna start this off because I feel so passionate about this problem. Okay, as an individual, I think a couple of you would have seen in our April Fool's stream. I am a hardcore chamber main. Like my agent, my life is chamber, but you will never ever see me play it in tourneys because it just, at least it's not even like other people stopping me. It's more or less me stopping myself because there are just so many better agents that fill in that role of Sentinel than Chamber, especially after his nerfs taking away that double TP, because now he just can't get away scot-free, and it just leads to a lot of restrictions in the gameplay.
Yeah, I know, like that that's just been a huge issue. Oh, it was a huge issue on our team because um I don't know, I feel like a lot of us were playing agents that we don't normally play, and we kind of got to like a really good middle ground since then. Like um I feel like everyone we play are technically comfort picks, but I mean, of course, there's going to be like the ultimate comfort pick, but it's also meta. It's so weird. But basically, we just make sure that we feel comfortable playing that agent, despite like what your real comfort pick is. So
Yeah, I think we changed the system, and especially in our team, for it to be like to have multiple choices that a teammate can make, and out of that list, they choose whichever they think is most comfortable, despite it not being as meta as the other ones. So we still follow a general trend in our comps to make sure we have certain like key pieces of utility that will be needed in a team, competitive scenario, but we still try to give as much freedom as we can with that, like, just a little bit of like util change that like a different agent can also cover.
Yeah, I agree with both of those answers. I would say, luckily for Valorant, the meta only really changes. A character comes out like once every few months, so it's not too bad for keeping up with the latest meta. But I know if you're talking about a game like Fortnite, I think they update the game every 2 weeks, and usually the meta changes literally every 2 weeks. So it makes it really hard to actually like be consistent. But I think for Valorant, we typically play what's meta at the time, and then if you don't feel comfortable on it, then sometimes depending on the map, you can switch to your comfort pick.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Valorant's, the meta is really slow. I mean, not many new agents getting updated. And I mean, outside of that, there's not many balance changes going on where, it kind of like shakes up on who's really the best agent for each role. I mean, outside of that, the meta is not too hard to deal with in Valorant because, I mean, there's certain roles that are set, best agents for those. I mean, since we're on the premier team, we know we got to play what's best. Everybody has their comfort picks, but most of the time it just lines up with the meta anyways, considering that's what we play outside of like the competitive scene. And I mean, other than that, I'd say that the meta doesn't really affect the Valorant team too much. Yeah.
yeah, I remember in the beginning we were like only doing metas, and then after thinking about it, we were like, maybe we shouldn't do that because, for example, I was a duelist main, but then for like 2 months I was only playing controller and sentinel, and it was just really weird because I'm used to like going in there and being aggressive, but now I'm like all of a sudden playing like a sentinel who like is supposed to lurk and like not do that. And that was kind of hard for me to switch, especially since I also play like competitive games, like ranked games, and I would always play duelist. So like switching back and forth was kind of weird and hard. And so Carrots brought up the idea that we should probably switch it up a bit to who we normally play. And I think that really helped us just playing what we're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think our focus switched from what's like the question of what is meta to the question of what our individual play styles are, because each like agent and agent group has a specific, type of play style that players usually follow. And if you try to take on a role that is the complete opposite of your play style, it becomes extremely difficult for that player to just, adapt and actually know what to do best, because there are certain like instinctive decisions that players have to make that are just not written on paper.
All right, well, that's the end of the panel Q&A session with our 4 NECC champions. So just wanted to say congratulations to all of you guys and thank you to the iSchool for hosting us. So I'll pass it back over to Amelia and Jesse to close us out.
Thank you everyone for participating in the panel. It was so fascinating to learn about your backgrounds and hear about everything that you go through and do. And it's been a really, really great time listening to you all share your stories. I wanted to just in the chat share the link to the UMD Esports page for anybody who's interested in following up on all of these wonderful teams. And I'm also the director of the Master in Professional Studies in Game, Entertainment, and Media Analytics here at UMD. And so I dropped the link for that in the chat as well. It is a fully online program that can be finished in about 18 months. And it definitely sets you up for data analytics and visualization in this area. So it's a way to turn your passions into a profession. So thank you so much to Vania and all of the student panelists. Thank you, Erica, for moderating. It's been wonderful having everyone. Have a great day.